I'm the smart guy that decided to build a 10,000 square foot real estate building as the market's going. And I still remember to the day as they are literally drywalling this building and watching the real estate market just go. And
07, 08.
Yeah, thinking 07 and thinking, what in the world am I doing?
I don't remember which one of our agents it was, but they essentially said that they had a seller they were working with, but the seller was nervous. This was a seller in Bridgewater, was nervous not to list with Mike Deck. Welcome to a private conversation with me, Steve Robbins. I'm sitting down with some of the biggest names in Indianapolis real estate. I've enjoyed these conversations immensely, and I hope you will too. A big thank you to Executive GM Ian Soroyan and his whole team for hosting us at Cunningham Restaurant Group's Commission Row and Mel Speakeasy, located in downtown Indianapolis within the Pacer Sports and Entertainment Complex. Check out the show notes to learn more. And now, my conversation with one of the most successful realtors in MIBOR's history, Mike Deck. Appreciate you coming here and having a conversation with me.
No problem.
Sitting right in that chair here recently was Remington Ramsey.
Yep.
And he said you were on a panel that he was hosting. And I'll get to a question he wanted me to ask you, but I wanted to ask you about the fact that last year, according to Real Producers numbers, you had the best year of any agent really in the history of the state of Indiana, and $184 million and 180 closings. Are those numbers right? If you know them,
that's what he published. So
that is what he published.
No, I believe it's right, but I hadn't thought of it that perspective before. But that's
cool. Is that a goal that you never had?
It's not. Never had that goal. Things have just evolved. Really, just lots of years in doing this and doing it the right way. And before I knew it, it just kind of blew up. But just as we talked earlier, it started back in the Trinity, Crossman, Beezer, Jim McKenzie days. And I send Jim a Christmas card every year. I always send him a little something, but I owe Jim a lot. He helped me start Real Estate Links way back when and get involved with working with builders. Really gave me a foot in the door with a lot of really important people.
I think I saw that you were started real estate in 1992. Is that right?
I got my license in 91. I was working right downtown here. So I came downtown, was working downtown, coat and tie and wingtips, 9 to 5 type job. And it didn't take me long to figure out that wasn't going to be my way of doing things. So I got my license, then did it part-time for almost 6 years.
With who, or how did that start?
I was with the phone company. I was an engineer with the phone company. But the nice part about that is I'm designing what we called outside plant, all the new neighborhoods in North Suburban. So all the new neighborhoods in North Suburban, I just saw neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood. And I'm like, my passion was more into, what houses are going in here? What's that neighborhood going to look like? What's that feel? And
so how did real estate actually happen?
So that was just, I was like, I really got a feel for this. So we bought our first house and engaged with an agent. And I was like, okay, I can see some synergies here between what I'm doing now, this field, and not having to be in downtown corporate America for the rest of my life.
Right. So who was your first brokerage, or who were you first affiliated with?
Well, so the first brokerage I was affiliated with was Century 21 Bolger, with Gloria Bolger.
Okay.
And she literally was one of the only ones way back then, 34 years ago, was the only one that would take a part-time agent. Part-time agents were, it was taboo, and you didn't want a part-time agent. That was back when you had floor time, and we'd sit at a desk. And that's how, so I'd come in after my 9 to 5 job, and I'd take floor time from 5 to 7.
Okay.
And I'd kill it.
You're a hustler.
I'd kill it with floor time, and then do open houses. And it's just a lot harder for agents now because everybody's got their cell phone number, and so you can't really get sign calls. You can't really get floor calls. It's a lot harder on new agents today. When people ask me, how do you get in the business? Well, that's what I did for 5 or 6 years and really built my business quite a bit. And we just don't have that ability for younger agents that we used to.
Yeah, it is different.
So it's hard.
But so how did you turn that into, was Real Estate Links the next step?
No, so that great story there. It's two of my mentors today. So Larry Rasmussen and Craig Kaiser, two of my mentors, love those guys to death. And Gloria Bolger decided to sell to Coldwell Banker right after we started. And so it got into this. So she was kind of out. And so I was kind of looking for a new place. And I'm a golfer. So my passion's golf. And I love golf to go along with real estate. Would have never guessed that would have then been a big key to my success in Indiana with the 3 golf course communities that I do now.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw an ad in the Chamber of Commerce letter for Craig Kaiser was giving away golf clubs at the Chamber event. And so I'm like, oh, he must be a golfer. So I called Craig Kaiser and said, hey, I'd love to talk about coming to work for you. So Craig said, oh, sure. So he's a member at Woodland Country Club. So I'm like, oh, and Woodland Country Club is a Carmel kid. Oh, that'd be so cool. And I'm in my 20s and great. So I'm eating lunch with Craig Kaiser at Woodland Country Club. And we're talking and the whole thing. And then we get down and I said, so Craig, so when are we going to play golf? Literally right as we're having this conversation, because Larry Rasmussen's got a set of clubs on his bag and he's walking by the restaurant there to go to the first tee. What triggered it, and I asked Craig, when are we going to play golf? And Craig goes, well, I don't play golf. And I said, what? And he says, I don't play golf. He goes, I'm just here for the social. And as I watched Larry Rasmussen with his bag go and play. So I joke with Craig about all the time. So ended up going to work for Craig, though, even though he didn't play golf. But that was why I was there. I thought he was a golfer, and we'd do that. And Craig ended up being one of the most knowledgeable guys in the real estate business, and I still call him this day for any land situations, and love him to death.
Okay.
But Larry and I have become very close as well, and
I'm assuming you played golf with him.
And played golf with Larry quite a bit, and partnered with him on several deals, and Larry and I still probably talk every other week.
Okay.
But so there was how I started. So I went to Craig, and then was with Craig probably 5 or 6 years. Until Jim McKenzie approached me about starting my own office, doing all their spec homes and guaranteed buyouts, which if you remember back in the day, guaranteed buyouts were a big deal with the production builders. And
over across from we had Greg Overton.
Yes.
At Trinity.
Exactly.
And Greg actually joined when we started our company.
Yep.
In 2000, Greg joined us.
Absolutely.
But so go. I didn't really want to interrupt you.
Well,
so
no, because I worked with Greg quite a bit when that whole transition.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so Jim with Trinity, so he had me traveling. I mean, I drove all over the city doing.
This is a heck of a plum opportunity.
Oh,
like it was just manna from heaven.
Phenomenal. I mean, he just blessed me. He said, "We trust you to do all that." So I'm making people offers all over the city. We probably did, oh gosh, for a 2-3 year period, we were doing over 100 guarantees a year. And it was a lot of money.
What year was this?
This was probably
90s.
What's it going to be? 2000. Yeah, right in the late 90s, 2000, early 2000s.
Okay. Well, so you were at Coldwell Banker until what year?
So probably, gosh, I can't remember the year, but late 90s somewhere.
Okay.
To where then started, it was called Real Estate Links.
Yes.
Was what we started and put together with Trinity and McKenzie's. And then that lasted for probably a 3 or 4 year run until they then merged with Crossman. And then I just went on my own with Real Estate Links from there.
So what kind of dollar volume were you doing with Coldwell before you started Real Estate Links?
Oh, gosh. I mean, probably back in the day, it was probably $5 million a year, maybe. I mean,
which was pretty good back then. Our average sales price in Indianapolis, it's still pretty low on average, but back then, whoa, it was really low.
Because all of our guarantees are doing were probably $120 to $180 $1,000. And the new homes they were buying were $300 to $400, and that was a big bump from a 120 buyer to a 300 to 400. And so now today to our average sales price is $1 million. And it's
congratulations.
It's unreal.
It is unreal.
And COVID was if we look at our numbers before COVID and look at our numbers now, the jump from 2019 to 2024 has got to be the biggest 5-year jump of an average sale price. Close to,
I think in Indianapolis it's around 50%.
It was unreal.
Yeah.
So
You jumped for things wound down, and we talked a little bit about this off camera, but how many people we know from the Trinity Crossman and how we're still involved in working with these people today. And they're some of the best people in real estate. I mean,
absolutely.
From you and, of course, our forward business partner, Alan Williams.
Yep.
Brian and Chris, my business partners, so many people that you work with at Berkshire, Alan, but Erica, et cetera. Again, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
It was a great training ground for what ended up being a really successful group of people in real estate.
Oh, it was.
So you ended up taking Real Estate Links and affiliating or partnering with ERA.
Yes.
How did that decision come about? Why ERA?
So that decision, ERA back then was the only then franchise doing guaranteed buyouts. They called it their seller's security plan.
Got it.
So at that point, it was just a natural transition to, instead of, because Jim and John were buying the homes before. So Jim and John were taking the risk. I wasn't taking the risk. The pressure was on me to make it happen, because if they had to buy the homes, they weren't too happy with me when they had to buy a home. But they were putting up the money, so I don't blame them. I mean, they were looking at me to guide them through that. So ERA then came to town, said, hey, we'll provide that backing for you so you continue doing what you're doing.
Okay.
Then the market shifted. Then we had the whole market shift where nobody really wanted to buy any homes anymore.
No.
So that kind of went away. Ended up filling out my term with ERA, and at that point thought we would go back on our own until Berkshire Hathaway came in.
Okay.
And that's where I am currently today, to where Berkshire Hathaway and Craig West and Andrew Braun have been phenomenal. Came in and really gave me a brand that would take me to the next level. And that brand helped me do what I call the Hinkie Die Trail. And Steve Hinkie would be another person that I send Christmas cards, gifts, anything I can to thank him for building 3 amazing developments on the north side to combine my golf and my real estate. Bridgewater Club, then Chatham Hills, and now Holiday Farms are 3 of the most amazing neighborhoods in the Midwest.
No doubt.
I mean, I have people come in from New York, California, Chicago, and they're just going, I can't believe here in Indiana we've got such amazing neighborhoods, facilities. Just the concept alone of what he offers it's made my job really easy, and I just positioned myself in a great spot to take advantage of all the stuff he's done up here. So
you positioned yourself literally with your office with Real Estate Links being part of Bridgewater.
In Bridgewater.
So how did that actually come?
So
was that coincidence? Was that a plan?
So I'm the smart guy that decided to build a 10,000 square foot real estate building as the market's going. And I still remember to the day as they are literally drywalling this building and watching the real estate market just go. And
07, 08.
Yeah, thinking 07 and thinking, what in the world am I doing? And Bridgewater kind of stalled. So even in Bridgewater, things just stalled. Nobody was building. They had lots galore. How are we going to get rid of these lots? I've got 10,000 square feet of real estate space to fill up right in Bridgewater. And so it was about a 2-year what have I done scenario.
Right.
But stuck it out, and because of that, I was the only one that was up there because nobody else was stupid enough to do what I did. And that just put me in a real good spot. So timing is, a lot of things in our business, timing's critical. And sometimes you think you've made the bad decision, and it turns out to be the best decision you ever made. And it ended up being.
Well, the first time I ever heard you talk about in real estate, farming a neighborhood, maybe even owning the neighborhood as a real estate agent, the first time I ever heard from someone, I don't remember which one of our agents it was, but they essentially said that they had a seller they were working with, but the seller was nervous. This was a seller in Bridgewater, was nervous not to list with Mike Deck.
Really?
Yes, because seriously, I'm not making this up. You literally owned the neighborhood. Like they were like, oh, Mike, we might not get the buyers we need. Mike really runs the show around here. And I'm like, okay, that's what every realtor should have strived to do with the neighborhood in which they live or they farm. You've never heard that before.
I have not.
Well, I'm not saying you're striking fear into the hearts of realtors, but you definitely, you controlled the market to a large extent. What percentage of your business is Bridgewater, Chatham, and Holiday combined?
Right now, it's probably, I'm going to say 50%.
Okay.
Probably a little under, maybe 40-something percent. But yeah, but we do quite a bit. I mean, just in Bridgewater alone, we've done over 550 homes in the last 20 years.
Wow.
So that's maybe we are striking fear a little bit.
Well, whatever you're doing, it's working
quite a bit.
Commission Row offers an unforgettable dining experience with high-quality steaks, a raw bar, and exquisite seafood curated by an expert culinary team. The menu, designed to delight every palate, features seasonal ingredients paired with an extensive wine and spirit selection. Open weekdays from 4 p.m. and for brunch at 10 a.m. on weekends. Continue the evening at Mel's Speakeasy below. After dining, enjoy an after-dinner drink with a wide selection of wines, cocktails, and spirits. Open daily from 5 p.m., Mel's is perfect for relaxing and unwinding. Commission Row and Mel's Speakeasy, an unforgettable dining experience awaits. So $184 million, how'd you do that?
Well, easy answer to that is I did. So we have a team, and that's where I think the whole industry is going to have to figure out a way to work with teams in the mix. And it's just, maybe it's not fair to the individual agent who's still pounding away on their own and trying to make it happen. And they look at me and go, oh, you did 184 million. Oh, I didn't. I had 4 awesome guys that have been they've been with me. 3 of them have been with me for 18 years. I think we talked to them about Scott Ubley, Mark Humphrey, Joel Rust, all those guys that from back in the builder days with Trinity and stuff. They've been with me ever since. So I've had those guys for 18 years. And then, gosh, one of our new superstars that we call the workhorse, Joel Vanags is his name. He's been with me now for almost 10. And between the 4 of them, I mean, they crank out a lot of business just themselves besides the leads that I give them. So we've got 184 million. Then I got 4 strong producers with me. Then we have 3 staff people. I have 2 full-time staff and 1 part-time that, we tell our clients we're 24/7 service because we've always got somebody available for them. And that's how we do it. It's not just me doing $184 million. I don't have time to do that, nor would anybody.
Nor would anybody.
But having a phenomenal team and stuff that's how we do it.
Yeah. Well, so what's been your favorite part of running that team?
Being part of a team.
Yeah.
We talked about just basketball and baseball and being part of sports. I mean, I love being part of a team. Doing something on your own isn't near as much fun as doing something together. So we do things together. We have retreats together, and we meet regularly. We hold each other accountable. All those things go into it, and it's in the real estate world. It can get ugly. I mean, as far as you have your down days and your up days, and just having people to share it together and go through it together is just a lot more fun than doing it on your own.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this off camera earlier, and one of the things that when I'm talking with an individual and they're talking about the idea of whether they want to join a team or create a team, and it's a lot about building that brand and whether you want to build your own brand or whether you're okay with being the type of person that's kind of helping to build someone else's brand. Because, the team leader often, as you know, gets a lot of the credit and probably very unfairly. What are your thoughts on that? And in the industry, you're saying that, and most people are saying this, I tend to agree, but the teams are the way that we're going to continue to evolve. But for the person that is looking to build their business but isn't necessarily thinking about the idea of how they're building their own brand, and for the team leader that's looking for people that maybe they know will produce for them, maybe they want to see them graduate and go off and do their own thing, but just what's your take on all that?
Yeah, it's even like I told Remington, I don't want to see just my picture on the screen. The little thing, it's a team picture. And I look for people to be on my team. I want team players. Joel Vanags that I talked to you about 10 years ago, I tried to talk him out of being. He came to me, wanted to be part of our team, and I said, "You're going to be a superstar all by yourself." I said, "You work so hard." I said, "And the way you built I said, you don't need a team to be a part of. he just wanted to be part of a team, and that's the type of person you want on a team. So he's done phenomenally well since then, and the rest of our team members has as well. They appreciate the growth, and just personally and business-wise, the growth that takes place within a true team as opposed to just being an individual or being part of what I call small office teams. That you see too, that there's 20, 30 people. That's not a team. That's a small office.
Right.
A true team is something that they literally, everybody is connected together, helping each other, and wants each person to be as successful together as opposed to individually.
Well, as a quick aside, you're a sports guy. You're talking about teams, obviously. You played baseball in college, correct? And come to find out, we're both diehard Purdue basketball fans. So tell me about how you felt about this season.
Finally.
I know. I was at the Purdue airport in 1980 with my parents and my brother greeting Joe Barry Carroll, who I had multiple autographs from, when they made the Final Four. And so I've only been waiting 40 years for this to cover. Yes, I was. No. In fact, my family's on the front page of the Journal and Courier with Joe Barry Carroll right in the picture at the airport.
Oh.
Yeah.
So then, yes, so you would know someone that would appreciate that would be me.
Yeah.
As I still remember at 10 years old crying when my dad left the house for the Final Four game and said to me, son, I'll take you to the next one. Where do you know?
Didn't take long.
He passed away 10 years ago. So he never got to take me to the next one because it never happened until, so, oh gosh, that brings back, I get chills just thinking of that, the memory of that.
So that was Market Square Arena. You were right down the street.
Exactly.
You should have gone.
I mean, I told him, son, I was crushed because, I was a cradle boiler growing up. I mean, we watched, Thursday nights and Saturdays. I mean, I just lived for those Purdue basketball games, the Farm Bureau insurance commercials, and the old lady with the Purdue.
People, particularly probably in the last 10 years or so, people talk about how laid back I am and my personality and very chill, I guess, is what I get a lot.
Until you're wacky.
What I always tell them is all you have to do is sit down and watch a Purdue basketball game with me. You'll see a totally different side.
Oh, yeah. My wife's kind of scared to sit down sometimes and watch a Purdue game with me.
I understand. It's all right. We need to watch a game together. That's what we need to do.
Absolutely.
So I want to go back to that goal question I had a little bit ago about, and you said it wasn't a goal to really be number one, I guess, so to speak, in the state of Indiana. But what goals do you kind of set for yourself, and how do you measure success at this point?
Well, I train, as I ran the brokerage for 15 to 20 years with CRA and then Real Estate Links, and so I had about 50 agents before Berkshire bought the company.
Yes.
And I'd tell each and every one of them, part of that success was I just want to be the expert, the main guy, the one that people want to go to wherever I go. And so that would be my goal. Every neighborhood I would go in, I would make sure I was the expert. And, that took some work.
Yeah.
From Lexington Farms is where I moved, and Williamson Run, and then Plum Creek, and then to Bridgewater. And I'd stay there 3-4 years. And everywhere I go, my goal was to be the guy in that neighborhood. And I do it, whether farming, little picnics, softball teams, just getting involved in the neighborhood, getting to know people, making sure they knew what I did, and making sure everybody in there knew I knew everything about the neighborhood. I was the expert in that area. So when I train people on how to farm, it is full bore. You become the expert, and you need to think it, and you need to make sure they think it. And so that would be every place I would go. So I got to Bridgewater, and then, so I've stayed there. So at Bridgewater, that would be my resting place at this point. So,
but Chatham and Holiday you're dividing your attention somewhat now.
A little bit.
Has that a challenge?
It's actually been fun, but so I belong to all of them as well. So I belong to Chatham and Holiday. I participate in as many things as I can in those areas as well. Represent different builders. Actually thought I would build in Chatham at one point, and my wife said, no, we're staying in Bridgewater. This is home. This is where I want to be, and so we've stayed there now for quite a while.
Yeah, quite a while.
Quite a while.
You Do you have any? What's the next thing on the list here for? Is there a neighborhood that you're looking to? Someone else doing a golf course. What is the goal for 2025, 2026?
Just really, we are focusing on those three neighborhoods is my main focus, hands down. Did just get my Florida real estate license though, so I've got some focus down there now as well.
You're going back and forth?
I wouldn't say back and forth, but I spent a couple weeks in January, 10 days in February, 10 days in March. I don't like the cold weather much, so
right.
But there's a lot of synergies between our clients and our golf course communities and them wanting to have places in Florida as well, and all the golf down there. So it's been a real good tie, and kind of another piece of kind of a passion of mine. So that would be kind of what's next on the agenda.
All right. And you mentioned in 2007 how you buy this building, you're starting this brokerage, things are falling apart. We lived through it ourselves. We were in markets outside of Indianapolis and Vegas and in Florida where it was like the epicenter of the crash. We were in California at that time. So I know the feeling of battening down the hatches and surviving in this. You can't get to where you've been without having some obstacles to overcome. Was that the hardest time of your real estate career? Or was there ever a time where you thought, oh, maybe I'm not going to do real estate?
It was the most nervous I've been in the career, for sure. I never thought about giving up or anything else, or this is the wrong thing, but it was certainly the most nervous. And I would tell you, a second close, if we all remember back, was probably the first month of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
That was another little thing where you go, what in the world is going on? And so, that first month of COVID where we couldn't even show a house and we didn't know what was on the horizon, that was a little nerve-wracking. And then the crash was a little nerve-wracking, but I'd say more just building that building was probably never was concerned about selling real estate. I knew there'd be opportunities because some people just what all those events bring generally creates opportunity for us in real estate. So it's similar to what we're in now. Every little thing that happens, people still need homes, and some are going to need them for a good reason, and some are going to need them for a bad reason, unfortunately. And then we're here to help whichever direction that goes. So I always see it as kind of an opportunity, but I certainly did get nervous those couple times going, which direction are things going to go?
Well, the first month of COVID, Chris Bryan and I would go to the office, and we were literally the only people going to the office. I can remember the first week where really no one was doing anything. I'd drive to work and maybe not see two cars.
Yeah.
And, it was really just the three of us, and they were probably trying to figure out how the heck we're going to keep this thing together because no one, who knew? First off, we were so lucky in Indiana where real estate was an essential service.
Yeah.
In Michigan, Pennsylvania, there was places where they didn't sell homes for months, really. Yeah. And so keeping the lights on and keeping your business going as a brokerage or as an individual agent, it was nerve-wracking for a lot of people.
Oh, it was. Especially, again, I sit here and been in the business almost 30-some years. Your newer agents and your middle agents that, they needed a deal to close to put food on the table.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden, they couldn't even do that. And that was a hard time. So I don't know which would have been, if I were to ask people, which would have been a harder time, that or back in 2007. I don't know. But that was, thankfully, the COVID didn't last long as far as all of a sudden we went from scared to death to then just on fire.
Absolutely. That was so fortunate.
That was unreal. How that all took place. And
I tell everybody that is interested in getting into real estate to watch the movie The Big Short.
Yes.
Because it really puts into frame and understanding where we are today is all still goes back to the 2007 crash, essentially. And where we are today is the fact is that we don't have near enough inventory. And that's why prices in the last however many years have gone up the way they have.
Yep.
And then interest rates being high the way they are right now, it is even though it hurts for people in this business in the short term,
Right.
in the bigger picture, it is allowing slowly more inventory to grow, builders to keep building, and less action to happen, really less demand.
Yeah.
And so we're slowing down sales and we're slowing down demand, but the supply is slowly building, and the inventory is the biggest issue right now.
Right. But our biggest fortune that we haven't really talked about yet is where we are. I mean, we have even when the Wall Street Journal even came out this past year, just adding more fuel to the fire and showed that we have 4 of the top 5 cities in America as to where people want to be.
Yes.
And after COVID, we went from what I tell people, a plus or minus
state of Indiana.
Well,
Or you're
in the country.
Yeah, no, I mean
In the country.
right.
As far as
Cities in Indiana, though.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
we were Brentwood, Tennessee, a place in Massachusetts, and then we had 3, and then it was Zionsville, Carmel, and Westfield. Were all rated, and then Fishers was right below that. And so between those 4 areas, they've always been rated high, but now they literally to have them all in the top 5 or 6, and then it got splashed out. It truly shows, because before COVID we were a plus or minus 3%, people coming in versus going out. We've now consistently since COVID been 15% or greater just coming in, and so that's been another. How does that average sales price get to how it got? Well, people coming in from other areas that have cash that $1 million seems like a bargain for them.
Yes.
And so it's really changed the landscape of what goes on around here, because the influx of people we've had coming into our little bubble, which it's a bubble. I mean, heck, the Fishers, Carmel, Zionsville, Westfield, that little area up there is a bubble in America that is pretty amazing, and all very fortunate to be here, and that makes it easy for us. So I guess I had the Hinky Dye Trail, which is easy for me, and then I've got this amazing bubble that if you can't sell real estate in this bubble in those areas in this time, then you probably be looking for something else to do, because it's a pretty great place.
There's people definitely looking for something else to do right now because they aren't good enough to face some of these challenges that we're talking about. But you obviously within Hamilton County, and essentially that's what you're talking about on those top 4 cities. I think it was Zillow came out that said Indianapolis was in 2024 going to be the 4th hottest market in the country. Really? And yeah, and that demand with the in-migration, that's what's really helping Indianapolis stay.
Absolutely.
Even with rates in 7s, maybe 8 again. Who knows where we're going to end up back.
Yeah. Because I've been amazed at the people that come in that they have cash.
Right.
And so rates aren't bothering them. They have cash. So,
well, and talk a little bit maybe about being a luxury realtor and how we define that is kind of nebulous, but what's it mean to you, and how is it different being a luxury realtor than when we were doing guaranteed sales for a $115,000 house? How has it really changed what you do or how you do it?
That's probably one of the biggest pieces why we accelerated last year and others didn't, was because we were in the luxury market. And it was those buyers one of my mortgage broker that I use, that I know Amy works with, Ryan France.
Yes.
Love Ryan to death. He sometimes wonders where the heck I am recently, because most of my buyers in the luxury market, which just blows me away, are cash. So you'd think, okay, the more expensive the house is, the bigger the mortgage, or the more people, they'll have to finance some of it.
Right.
Well, they're not. They actually used to finance it when the rates were 2.5 or 3, but now that the rates are 7 or 8, they just pay cash.
Yep.
And so I haven't given poor Ryan much business at all in the last year. He said, well, you had a great year. Where was my fee? I didn't have, in that luxury market, which blew us away, most of the buyers were cash.
Yeah.
Which is,
well, they're selling their
dumbfounded
$2 million house in California, and using using $1 million of it to buy a nicer house in Indianapolis.
Yes. So that part was what, again, yes, being a luxury here recently was different than from others. As we didn't have to deal as much with the rate issue that the first and second time home buyers and stuff, every penny, and it counts and budgets, and that kills them as far as being able to move up. The cash people didn't care. And then on their selling side, they were in great shape because the inventory's low. So when they put their house up for sale, it sells real quick, and they're able to take that cash as well and go buy something else. So that it's been, again, something you wouldn't have thought of, or I wouldn't have thought of. I thought it would have been harder for the luxury because they put their shekels away somewhere because they had cash and they bought.
There's a lot with the haves and the have-nots, I think, right now in real estate. If you were able to buy before the run-up in prices, and now rates are making it even harder for people that haven't bought to have an entry point. You dealing much with first-time buyers in your group at all, even of people that are on your team, and like the challenges they're facing now? I mean, it's one thing if there's so many people that are in a great position, and then there's so many more people that are really struggling to get into real estate or to own their own home. I don't know if you have any thoughts or opinions on what to do to make that better.
Yeah.
But it's tough.
Yeah, as far as making it better, that's hard because that inventory is low as well. And so they're competing even more than the high end. And they're just competing like crazy. But it's more, people trying to come out of that apartment life, which doesn't help that all of a sudden now people, the latest stats showing that it's more economical to rent than to buy for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help. But it's still, like probably a lot of the first-time buyers we've been dealing with here lately have been some of our Colts players that we've been dealing with, some of these young Colts players that come in, and so they want a house.
Right.
And so they're
not having too many problems.
They're not. Well, you'd be surprised.
Okay. What do you mean?
I mean, these guys, because it's a big life change. I mean, they're still young. I mean, they're young. We look at them as these professional athletes, but they're very young.
Right.
And so they're not all the number one draft picks and the free agents making. I mean, they're making a good rookie salary, but they're also that might be the only salary they make for so many years. They've got to really be careful how they spend their money. And they've been told, real estate's a good investment.
Yeah.
And so we need to be real protective of that. And so, yes, it's been a challenge. We'll try and get them a home even. And, they're fighting with 5 other people and they lose out on this one and this one and this one. And that's hard. That can be real discouraging too for that first-time buyer, that second-time buyer.
Yes.
Getting beat down. And then they just get worn out, and some of them just rent at that point. They're like, all right,
there's so many that fall into that category.
We're tired of the process, and that's our biggest issue in the bubble. We don't have a lot of first-time and second-time product that
no,
is worth buying. I mean, it's either a gut job or a rehab, or all of a sudden that first-time buyer is up to $350,000, $400,000, and now it's 7-8% rates. They can't do it. So,
when you're working with, whether it's golf players or just anyone that is turned into your clientele these days, by and large luxury buyers, that concierge level of service that is maybe expected, what do you do in that regard that maybe separates yourself from others in terms of just, I know I've seen multiple places where you talk about maybe your business motto or the way you run your business is the golden rule, but how do you try to give that extra level of service to your clients that's some would call concierge level?
Well, we have a corporate account at the Carmichael in downtown Carmel. We frequently make sure people have reservations at the Cake Bake. We take care of them down here at St. Elmo's. I mean, when you're dealing with the luxury, they expect luxury.
Sure.
And what's been great is now in our city, we have so many different luxury type things that we're able to do for them and use and show off the city. It's pretty cool. For example, the place we're in right now.
Yeah.
What a great addition right across from Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Caitlin Clark coming to town. And just I've probably had 3 clients that I've taken little pictures of the little girls with Caitlin Clark jerseys on, and just kind of the excitement of that. So all the restaurants and entertaining venues and hotels, and we're no longer just a little cornfield in the Midwest. And so when our luxury clients come in, they expect that. And so, do we help them to make sure that they're put up at the right places and going to the right restaurants and the little things. We do everything for them so that when they're going to sell, they remember, oh yeah, those guys were awesome. They did everything we could have asked for and more. And that's really it. It's more of that. From the golden rule, we change into the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is we're going to do what we feel, what they want, not what we would feel what they want.
I like the platinum rule better myself.
Yeah. And reading their mind and knowing what they want, that's the hard part. Because a lot of times it's just expected for you to know, and surprising with things is cool. They love that. They love having their expectations exceeded as opposed to just taking care of them like a normal client.
Yeah. So do unto others the way they want to be done unto instead of the way that you would want to be done.
Exactly.
So, almost any real estate agent you talk to would love to break into luxury, and what they're first talking about is, how do I start to raise my average price point? Mm-hmm. What advice do you have for agents that are trying to raise their average price?
And I tell, when you're talking about Remington, this is what I told the panel that was at. It doesn't happen overnight.
No.
So have I been a luxury agent for 34 years? No. I was a Lexington Farms agent in the 150. Then I was a Williamson Run agent in the 300s. Then I was a Plum Creek agent in the 600s. Then I moved up to Bridgewater in the million. And then COVID hit, the world changed, and all of a sudden that million has turned into 2 million and 3 million up here on the north side. And we always thought, how many buyers no way, we can't have that many $2 million buyers or $3 million buyers, and they just keep coming. And, how did I get there? Well, it was 20 years of building from this price point to this price point, connecting with people in this price point, and then connecting with people in this price point. Luxury buyers want to work with luxury agents who live that and know that and understand it, and not just, okay, hey, they're 30 years old and they want to be a luxury agent. Doesn't really work that way.
No.
But I try and explain to agents, because they see, and guys, it takes time. I mean, it takes time. It takes building that business, building that clientele, and networking and basically being with people in that arena. So when people talk about they want to raise their average sale price, that's a wonderful goal. Well, then you got to find out where you're going to stretch yourself to get there. And so I can assure you, when I sold my house in Lexington Farms and bought in Williamson Run, Alan Williams, he's told that story in the meeting. I'm going from my $110,000 house to my now 300 or like 280 or something. I was sweating bullets because it was a stretch. I stretched myself in real estate to do that. Next house, I stretched because I left my corporate job. My wife quit her job, and here I'm going real estate full time, and I stretched to that next house to be able to take care of that next form of clientele. And then that last stretch, oh sure, I was nervous as heck building in Bridgewater and then building the office. But as a baseball player, that's the other side of my office, is you can't steal second with your foot on first. And it's a whole successories model of opportunity. And so anything in life, timing's critical, but you can't get to that next level if you don't take a risk doing something.
Yeah. Just real estate in general, talking to younger agents or newer agents to the field, always talking about it's a snowball that has to build. That snowball takes time, whether it's to get into luxury or whether it's just to build your business.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to have success right out of the gate. It's a process, and that's where most agents fail and never really get over the hump, is that they just don't have the time, sometimes the money, or the determination to let this thing build and evolve.
I do think that's why teams have become such a big piece of our market, because back when we started, so we talked about that floor time opportunity and sign calls and things of that nature.
Yes.
All these new agents now, they don't have that ability. It goes straight to that team leader or that team or that agent, And so newer agents who don't have any business to build off of, it's hard. And so they've got to look at different ways they can connect, partner with, stretch themselves to get started. And yeah, it's hard.
Remington had brought up that you had said on the panel that you had recently gone on a listing, and he wanted me to ask you this question, and I'm definitely going to. So here we go. You had lost the listing to maybe an older lady, and we were talking about rejection and becoming, comfortable with being a salesperson.
Yes.
What happened there?
Well, and it was Alan and I both. Alan and I are sitting on the panel, and you know Al.
Yeah.
Most creative marketing genius in our business, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the ideas just flow out of that guy's head are unreal. And so I've got the creative guy here and I've got the relationship guy here. And both of us were talking before the meeting about listings we just lost. And Alan had lost one that he just couldn't. And I said, how did you lose a listing? I don't understand. You have more. There's nobody that can beat your marketing presentation. Nobody. And I said, I've got the numbers and the experience and the data, and yet I just lost out to with this. It was the mother of one of my high school buddies. It was the mother. I thought, well, I got this listing for sure, and I lost it. And it was only it was a $600,000 listing, and I lost it, and I was bummed because and Alan and I both, we just talked about. We were just still so competitive, and so when we lose, it still gets us. And so I just shared with one of the younger agents two things with that. It's one, even we lose listings, and it still bugs us. So we hate it, but I tell all my agents, I give them a 24-hour pity party. And you can moan about it for 24 hours, but then get back at it and go again. All you can do is go get another listing, because we all lose listings. And I shared with them. And that when you compete against us guys that have, all this business and been in business, hit us where we're weak. Show how hungry you are. You don't want to list with Alan or Mike or whatever. I'm going to work for you 24/7. You're the only listing I have. I'm going to do everything I can. That's what I would do if I'm competing against us. So there's always, everybody has a chance, and you just got to have the confidence and the ability. Use what your strengths you have. And younger guys and younger people are doing it. Your strength is, you don't have a lot of business. So you're going to be able to focus 180. You're going to do an open house every weekend for those people. You're going to be able to call them every day. You can do that. And so that was the whole point of that conversation, was to let them know, even us guys have been doing this 25, 30 years, we still lose. It still bugs us. And you guys can win too. We're not invincible, and it does happen. So
when's the last time you had lost a listing prior to that?
It'd probably been a while.
5 years?
Well, and we talk about that. Once you've been doing it this long, we don't go on many competitive listings.
Right.
Because we have our book of business and our people that know us, and they just call and say, hey, we're selling, come on out, we want you to live. And so we don't have to go through that arduous listing process and try and sell yourself and stuff. So that's another fortunate piece that we have of being in the business that long. The majority of our business is going to be already decided before we walk in the front door, because it's a third-time client or a second-time client or a referral from another person that says you have to use this guy and he's the best, and we go for it. But you'd appreciate on that. So just 2 days ago in Holiday Farms, I go out on a competitive listing. So they're firing the old agent, and they had 3 agents out to their house in the same day. They had them backed up. And so the first meeting they have, and we didn't know that until we showed up, because I went with Joel Van Ag's, my partner. So we took 2 of us, and we went and go to the door, and she goes, oh, and it's 3:00. We're right on time for our 3:00 list. She goes, I'm so sorry. She goes, I've got another agent in right now. She's almost done. And if you could just wait outside for a bit. And we said, oh, good. We said, well, who do you have in there? We knew who it was because we saw her car.
Okay.
And she goes, well, Biff's in here right now. Well, we love Biff. I mean, Biff's the legend in our industry. I mean, for crying out loud. So Joel and I are at the door, and we said, will you tell Biff to hurry it up because the A-team's out in the driveway. And so sure enough, 5-10 minutes later, here comes Biff. The A team? What do you mean the A team? I go, so it takes two of you to try and compete with one little me. Well, good luck, fellas. And we gave her a big hug and love her to death and what have you.
I am having, okay, so I talked to Biff the other day about being on the show.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell her we had this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But she said she'd think about it, and I called the next day, and the first words out of her mouth were, "You're going to hate me." And I'm like, no, let's just go to lunch. Yeah. So I'm having lunch with Biff, and we're going to see if we can get her on the show.
Oh, she'd be the most comedic. I mean, as far as entertaining,
yes.
And I mean, blow me away. So,
wow.
So we get in the listing appointment after they've had Biff, and they said, they looked at us and they said, so, all right, so what are you going to do? Because we know what Biff's going to do. And we said, well, what do you mean? Well, she already told us if she had to go out in the driveway in her birthday suit, she would to sell this house. And so we said, well, that does not surprise us because, yes, Biff would probably do that to sell the house. Thankfully, we are not going to go out in the birthday suit in the driveway, but we'll do X, X, and X. But it's just, we do have some really good people in our business, and she's one of them, and she's a legend, and Dick Richwine's another. We have Dick in our group, and Dick is another just phenomenal legend in our industry. And Alan and I both still call Dick and ask him for advice and things. And he just turned 80 the other day. And,
I didn't know that.
You wouldn't know. He just goes. I mean, if I'm at that, if I could only be half what he is at 80, I would be thrilled, because
you're on your way.
He acts like he's 60, if that, and just an awesome person in our business.
Last question for you. How are you staying in touch with all these clients? How many in Bridgewater alone? Mm-hmm. 550, you said? Or how do you stay in touch with everybody and maintain a relationship? You're the relationship guy. Mm-hmm. How do you do that?
It's a great question. So one, I have a part-time gal that works at home, that comes in. She meets at our Monday meetings and our Friday meetings, but then works 4 hours a day for me throughout the week. And then I've got another gal that just had her first baby that she gives me as much time as she can give me. And pretty much their main jobs are helping me with that.
Okay.
And they give me letters. Here, you need to write your little letter to this person. We're going to send a hat to this person. We're going to send a ball marker to this person. It's constant work. I mean, it is absolute constant work, staying in touch. And that's important. Absolutely, positively, no mass mailings or drip campaigns. It's all personal. I've never done a drip campaign, never done a mass mailing. It is, well, I say mass mailing. I give my calendar out. It's because I started doing this 20-some years ago, a golf calendar.
Okay.
That's the only mass mailing I do. I give it out at the end every year because if I don't, and there's still calendars, even though hardly any people, I don't think people use calendars anymore. I probably, one year I didn't put out the calendar. I probably got 50 calls going, where's my golf calendar? And so I swore, okay, I will just keep giving out the golf calendar every year. But otherwise, everything we do is personal. It's a personal note. It's a personal little gift card. How you doing? Your 1 year, your 6 month, you've been in the house. Just the little personal things. I'm just not, when I see emails come in that are, from agents sending the garden tip of the day and so on and so forth, they're just the non-personal drips are just not the way we operate.
I lied. One more question. What music are you listening to?
What music am I listening to?
Yes.
Well, I'm definitely a country music fan, so right. I would be more into the country music, pop version, not the whole old school.
So who's your favorite artist or band?
I'm a Brett Eldridge, Brett Young, probably my two favorite country guys. And unfortunately, though, I'm a sports junkie, so during the day when I'm driving around and listening to sports talk radio, I'm a big Kevin Bowen fan. And the biggest irritation I have with sports talk radio is a commercial they play all the time. And I've told this guy, so this Mark Deedle, I've never met him in person, but we had a fun conversation on the phone once. But I told him, I said, you're killing me. I love sports talk radio, but I hear your ads all the time. So I don't know if you've heard
No, I
Oh, you
haven't?
haven't? Oh my goodness!
I'm usually listening to podcasts.
Mark, because he actually called to recruit me once to come work for him, and I said, no, dude. I said, but you are killing me with your
What did he
Mark
say?
Well, all the radio guys, Mark Deedle is the only real estate agent in town I would use, and the only realtor. And it's been going on for probably 3 years. I haven't really seen it show in his numbers, but I don't know how he does it. He spends a lot of radio advertising money and promises to be the guy in town. And I hope it's successful because, well, I hear his ads all the time. So he's got to be.
How did he
spending a lot
react
of
to
money.
like you're hearing it too much?
He just kind of laughed. He said, well, that's a good thing. He said that I'm doing my job. And I said, yeah. I said, trust me, you are.
I just like that you were
Right
so
here.
impassioned about this that you picked up the phone to call.
No, he called me.
Oh, wait. Oh,
No,
okay, got
he
it,
was
okay.
recruiting me. Because he said he's getting so many leads from these ads that they were recruiting. And so I just messaged him and said, hey, I'm not interested, but your ads are killing me. I hear them all the time. And so he keeps, they're still on today, but it's just a funny, I laugh.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for having a conversation with me.
Pleasure, anytime. Say hi to Amy for me.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
You will.